You're 22 years old, sitting in a sterile room in Beijing's Haidian district, and the man across the table has no name badge. There's no logo on the wall, no flag. The door behind you is closed, and you don't remember anyone telling you it would be. He asks you a question that has nothing to do with the job you applied for. He asks you who your parents confide in. And right there, before a single form is signed, you understand something that will define the rest of your life. You have entered a building that the outside world doesn't know exists. Inside an organization most governments can barely name. Welcome to the Ministry of State Security. China's answer to the CIA, the FBI, and the secret police merged into one. You don't get here the way you'd think. There is no glamorous recruitment pitch, no movie-style tap on the shoulder. The MSS pulls its people from a single, almost invisible pipeline, the civil service exam. Hundreds of thousands of candidates take it. A vanishing few are funneled into national security roles. But even among those, the ones redirected toward the MSS are chosen for something harder to test. Discretion, psychological steadiness, ideological loyalty that doesn't need to be performed because it's already structural. If you make it through, you're sent to a place the Chinese government barely acknowledges exists, the University of International Relations in northwest Beijing. On the surface, it's an unremarkable campus. Internally, it is the MSS finishing school. You study foreign languages. You study behavioral psychology. You study the architecture of other nations' intelligence services. And you are taught the one rule that will follow you through every rank ahead. You do not exist. Not officially. Not to the people you protect. Not to the people you surveil. Not even, eventually, to yourself. Your first rank carries no weight. You're an entry-level officer inside a provincial state security bureau, maybe Jiangsu, maybe Guangdong. You're part of the MSS's enormous body of 100,000 personnel deployed across China's provinces and cities. Your job sounds mundane, monitoring foreigners in your jurisdiction, flagging unusual academic contacts, tracking individuals who've traveled to sensitive regions. You write reports that vanish into a system you'll never see the top of. You don't carry a weapon most days. You don't interrogate anyone. You sit in office buildings that look like tax agencies, and you watch. The people around you, your neighbors, old classmates, have no idea what you do. You've been told to say you work in government administration. And you do, in a way. But quietly, something shifts. You're moved from passive collection to active counterintelligence. You are now inside the second bureau, foreign intelligence, or perhaps the first bureau, domestic operations. The distinction matters less than the change in atmosphere. You're no longer watching from the periphery. You're building files on people. Academics who attend too many overseas conferences. Businessmen whose Shenzhen tech firms have unusual Western investors. Uyghur community leaders whose phone contacts stretch into Turkey. You learn to see connections that don't exist on paper. And you learn something else. The MSS doesn't just gather intelligence. It prevents the future. Every file you build is a prediction. Every connection you flag is a threat that hasn't materialized yet. The party calls these the 5 poisons: Uyghur separatism, Tibetan independence, Falun Gong, Taiwanese advocates, democratic activists. Your job is to see them coming before they move. And you're good at it. By mid-career, you've been promoted through the People's Police rank system that governs the MSS. You carry the rank of supervisor, maybe second class, and you've been transferred to Beijing headquarters, the compound on Xiwan Road that even taxi drivers don't recognize as significant. You're now one of roughly 10,000 officers at the nerve center. Inside, the MSS is divided into at least 18 bureaus, each its own sealed world. The third bureau handles Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, a pressure chamber of political sensitivity. The fourth bureau runs technology acquisition. The 11th bureau manages overseas operations under diplomatic cover. embedding officers inside Chinese embassies who spend their days smiling through trade receptions while cataloging the weaknesses of the people they shake hands with. You're inside one of these bureaus now. And you understand that the MSS is not one agency. It is 18 agencies pretending to be one, each with its own culture of paranoia and precision. This is where the psychological weight arrives. You begin handling assets, foreign nationals recruited through patience, not coercion. The MSS doesn't operate the way Western agencies expect. There are no dramatic dead drops or rooftop meetings. Instead, there are years. Years of a professor being invited to conferences in Shanghai. Years of a mid-level defense contractor being offered consulting fees that seem legitimate. Years of gradual, invisible compromise until the target doesn't even realize they've crossed a line. The MSS calls this making friends. And by the time you're running these operations, you understand that the most powerful weapon in espionage isn't secrecy. It's time. You have more of it than any Western intelligence cycle allows. Then comes a rank that changes everything. You are now a commissioner, third class perhaps, and you oversee not a bureau, but a region. Maybe it's the Guangdong State Security Department, one of the MSS's most active provincial branches due to its proximity to Hong Kong. You are, functionally, a spymaster running your own semi-autonomous intelligence operation. You have police powers. You can authorize detentions. You can initiate counterintelligence investigations without consulting a court. The 2017 National Intelligence Law made this explicit. MSS officers can compel any citizen, any company, any institution to cooperate. And refusal isn't an option that appears in the statute. At this level, you're no longer a cog in a system. You are the system in your territory. And the loneliness that comes with it is absolute. You report upward to Beijing. You trust no one laterally. And the people below you are trained to watch you as carefully as you watch them. At the very top, there is a seat held by one person, the Minister of State Security. A Commissioner General. This individual answers directly to the State Council and, more importantly, to the Central National Security Commission chaired by Xi Jinping himself. The current minister sits inside a chain of authority that runs not through government bureaucracy, but through the Communist Party's own security apparatus. At this level, intelligence is no longer information. It is power in its rawest form, the ability to define what threatens the state and, therefore, who disappears. The minister oversees an estimated 110,000 personnel. A classified budget. Cyber operations that Western intelligence agencies now rank as the most prolific state-sponsored hacking campaigns on Earth. And a global network of influence that stretches through embassies, universities, tech companies, and diaspora organizations on every continent. And yet, the strangest part of reaching this summit is this. No one knows your face. The MSS has no public headquarters tour, no press conferences, no recruitment website with smiling agents. For decades, the outside world didn't even agree on how many bureaus it contained. The agency's greatest weapon has always been its invisibility, the fact that it could grow into the largest intelligence service on the planet while the world was busy watching the CIA, MI6, and Mossad. You started in a sterile room in Haitian with a man who had no name badge. And you end in a building that has no name at all. That is the architecture of power inside the MSS, not built on spectacle, built on silence. And silence, it turns out, is the most dangerous sound in intelligence.